Hello, how are you? I am Burke and you're watching Road Odyssey. Hey, hello, how are you? Hope y'all are doing great today. Please subscribe down below. Thank you very much. And this video, of course, is about sports cars and short-statured people. And how well can we find a sports car that combines with those of us who are shorter? Now, the average height of a man in the U.S. is 5'10". The average height of a woman in the U.S. is 5'4". And I'm 5'7". My wife is 5'1". We're both below average. And so finding a really good sports car for us is a little bit of a task. Now, I'm going to show you things in here that you can do to make the car adapt to you. And what sports cars were the best that we tested out in terms of just the sports car, no alterations, no pillows, no rail risers, nothing. So that's what I'm going to touch on in this video, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's move on. The main features that I looked at in these sports cars were the hoods, if they're short or if they had a low profile, the size of the windows, the steering wheel, if it was adjustable, tilt or telescopic or both, and how adjustable the seat was. Now, the window visibility and the seat adjustment implies also how easy it was to see out of the side window. As I said before, you can get seat cushions. Just make sure they're the width of the seat, and you might want to get a wedged shape, and just make sure they're safe. You can also get pedal extensions, and you may investigate seat rail risers or spacers, or just change the seat out completely. Now it's story time with Burke. I begin my story with finding that right car for my wife. Well, we got the C5 2000 salvage title Corvette. And she really enjoyed it, but she was really kind of afraid. You can see where her sight line is, and when she drove it, her depth perception on the right hand side was not very good. You can see how she's driving the white line, and when she's looking out over the steering wheel, she's got her head cocked back, and you know, it was just hard for her to drive. She never really tried putting a pillow under herself or making the car adapt to her. So we made no changes to the car because we knew we probably would end up selling it anyway. But the C5 is a very good car for those of y'all who are short. Just a quick side note, my wife also drove the C6 some, and the visibility for her was virtually the same as the C5. Next is the Toyota 86, also known as the FRS or BRZ. They have short hoods and well-sloped hoods, but a little boxy. The seating position is good. You can see my wife sitting here, not really much of a problem, just a little bit of a tilt to look over the front. Good visibility on these cars, and you sit in them high enough that you can see over the window sills on either side fairly well. When the C8 Corvette came out, my wife and I went and took a look at it. She hopped in the driver's seat, and the front visibility was good. The front hood is not very long, and it slopes down well, and so she can see out of the front well. And I'm not so sure that the sides were that good, because even looking at Street Speed 717, that's Mike, his visibility out of the front was good, but out of the side you can see he's sunk down in it, and that side window sill is pretty high. The same when I checked out Amelia Hartford. She's kind of sunk down in there. Front's good, side not so good. But The Corvette forums claim that, hey, visibility out of the C8 Corvette is great for short people. Although if you are 5 foot or less, you could have noticeable difficulties. After giving away the C5 Corvette, I wanted to find my wife the perfect sports car for her stature. So I began looking out on the internet. So I found this article from AutoBytel, and it had several cars, namely the Porsche. Here's another article by The Modest Man, also mentioned the Porsche and other cars. And here's an article from Quora. So cars like the 86, the Jaguar F-Type, a Porsche again, and the Miata. So I really dug into this and came up with a complete list of cars to look at, and here's that list. This list includes sports cars from the articles and from what other people have mentioned to me. The next thing I did was begin at the top of the list and start looking at these cars with my wife. Here's the Porsche 911 Carrera 2005 model. The front slopes down great. The front of the car is about 50 inches from the windshield, a little bit longer than the FRS BRZ 86. Seating position is excellent. A little bit of a hump where the steering wheel and front dash is. Virginia shows with her hand where her vision is. She was very comfortable with it. The side window sills are lower than almost every car we looked at. Her depth perception is enhanced because of the good visibility, and the blind spots on either side are also non-existent. We kind of like the Mercedes-Benz SLKs. This was a SLK 300, and she could drive this around and see out of it fairly well. And you can see though that looking out the front, the steering wheel and dash and the hood were pretty high up, so she sat deep down into it, yet the side window sills were not too bad on this car. Our cruising buddies Doug and Kathleen have this beautiful XLR, and we spotted one at a dealership. Virginia hopped into it, and honestly it is fairly close to a C5 or C6 Corvette. So you can see her sitting position is not too bad, but the side window sills, you can see they're a little higher, so it looks like she's really sunk deep into the car, and so the blind spots were not very good on this car for her. We had this Cooper for sale in my town, and so I just went ahead and got some pictures of it because Coopers are a car that a lot of smaller people could probably easily drive. We didn't test this, but had to get it on the list because I know a lot of people love these cars. We ran across this Miata. It was a very lovely car, and Virginia immediately hopped into it. She liked it a lot more than she thought, and the seating position was great. She can see very well over the steering wheel and front dash, and the seating position was perfectly fine. And you can see that, yeah, there might be some blind spots on either side, but the window sills are nice and low, and so the depth perception issues here are virtually non-existent. While at the same dealership, there was a S2000. People really love these cars just like the Miatas, and Virginia just kind of sat into it real quick to get an idea, and it was not as good as the Miata. It was more like the Corvettes. We also tested out the Maserati GrandTorismo. This thing is beautiful. Very luxurious car, but you know, it turned out to be pretty much like a Corvette as well. And now she was very comfortable in this car, and looking through the front was not an issue. Looking to the sides was not that bad, but the main problem was this big hump where the steering wheel is and that front dash. That really impeded her view a lot. And you know, she sat down in the car
a little bit more deeply than what we wanted, but it really wasn't any deeper than a Corvette, the 86, cars like that. At this point in time, we took a breather and began comparing all the cars. So the 86, BRZ, FRS, all of those types of cars, underpowered, didn't want to mess with them. Did not want to go back to a Corvette or Cadillac or SLK, any of those types of cars. She wasn't thrilled with them. So it turned out that the Porsche and the Miata were the best. And, we used the C5 Corvette as the gauge because she has a lot of experience with it. And you can just kind of see, she can just really see out of the Porsche. And that was her favorite choice at this point. I came across this Jaguar F-Type. Beautiful car, almost identical to the Toyota 86 or the FRS or BRZ. Beautiful car, pretty luxurious. The wife really loved this car, sat in it, and the steering and front dash were pretty easy to look over. And so she really liked this. She felt very comfortable. Looking out the front was very simple, no impediments there. And, seating position was great. A little bit into it, the window sills are a little bit above the shoulder. But all in all, this car was really very easy for her to see out of. And ultimately, this ended up being her choice of the car to get. Now, like I said, compared to the 86 FRS BRZ, they look almost identical. And as compared to the Porsche, this car is very close to that. So I would really say that the Porsche Miata are the top, and then the Jaguar F-Type would kind of come third, fourth, somewhere right down in there. Those are our top three cars. Of the cars we tested, again, the Porsche and Miata were the very best. And from our personal desires, the third car was the Jaguar F-Type. Now, we have not really had a chance to test out the C8 Corvette very well. I'll get mine in a few months, and we'll know more about this later. Now, for the very moment, my wife's favorite car was the Jaguar. Now, it's got good safety features like the backup camera, blind spot monitors. I believe it's got front cameras. It has good looks. It's classy and rather luxurious. And the ones that we looked at, you can get these affordably, even fairly new, because they depreciate like a rock. They're kept in good condition. They're not really cars that would normally get abused, so you can count on that as being a plus. And they do have really great visibility when you add that seat pillow or rail risers to the bottom of the seat. Now, we also went to Lamborghini Dallas. There we looked at all kinds of really nice cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, whatever they had. Now, she sat in an Aventador, and it was great. The visibility out of this car was pretty good, except, supercars, they're not always known to have good blind spot visibility. But, if you've got the money, you want to check out supercars, I'm sure there's plenty that at least front and side visibility ought to be fairly decent.
All right, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below. I appreciate that. And all the subscribers I do currently have, y'all are fantastic. So, hope you enjoyed this video on me kind of looking around and seeing what sort of really cool sports cars were out there for us that are short. And our list of really good sports cars might be short, but there's plenty of cars out there. Look to see what's good for you and what you can adapt to or make adapt to yourself. So with all that, have a fantastic day. Bless you all, and I will see you later. Bye.